All right, I'm going to call the order. I'm going to call the order the Parks and Rec Committee meeting for February 13th.
Committee members Sarah Borkart.
Here.
Jed Henry.
Here.
Jennifer Bonte.
Here.
Trustee Bratton.
Here.
Good.
All right. I don't have anything to really report on to you guys. Well, I should say we got the survey results back from the pool feasibility. Almost 300 responses. Numbers found down and broken. Pretty awesome. I was looking at it. That's good, but we haven't had meetings, so that's really all I've got.
There's 355 responses.
Was it 355?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I think I get 290 in my head.
And also have an in-person vision.
Oh, yeah, the visioning
That was
session.
in January.
Yep.
And that was a pretty decent turnout.
You had 34 people. Cool.
What struck me about that session was there were a lot of people asking kind of like more of the operational questions. That was what they were asking more. You know, I mean, like the amenities, it was like, okay, we've done a slide. But other than that, they were asking, again, I didn't hire to pay for it. What the current state of the pool is. Does it make sense to invest in the current state of the pool? So, and that was a really thoughtful question.
Anyone else have anything there?
I have two things. So Katie, Rip, and I, with huge help from Mike, have set up this Coach to 5K program that will start in 2 weeks, hopefully, if enough people sign up for it. And then that will be to train for an upcoming race that is also being planned. And then the other thing was I attended the candlelight hike and fire, although we didn't even walk with the candles, but okay, one piece of feedback I would say for that is I did like it better when the fire was closer to the creek. But and partially because apparently my son was about to fall into traffic, so that's my own parenting fault. But also it just was nice, I thought. But I can see where it's way more convenient where it was for setup and everything, but it was just I felt like it encouraged people to actually go on the trail more, whereas most people I saw just hung out in that space and didn't actually go do the walk. Yeah.
That was on the boardwalk, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then the fire and everything was set up right next to the coffee shop.
I drove by it a couple of times and kids were playing on the snowbank. It's actually funny you mentioned the kid in traffic because when I was going by the one time, the kid made it pretty well to the curb coming off that snowbank. Yeah.
So anyway, otherwise it was really nice. It's great to see. But it was nice turnout. That was it.
Yeah. So, yeah, just from my standpoint, we had a candlelight hike over the weekend here. We had a really good turnout, one of our better turnouts, I'd say, in regards to the number of people that came out. But I'd agree with Sarah. It's hard to tell how many people really came because we were so far away from the trail then too. Just being off, before where it was set up was in the open space where kind of the amphitheater is, where we'd have the fires. This year, obviously, being off Mill Creek Parkway was a little bit further from where the actual hike was taking place. But we got a lot of good feedback. It was a great day. Like setting up was good. Nice and warm. Did get kind of cold towards the end at night there, but it's a good turnout. We had 11 people sign up for the in memory of lanterns. So we did light a few of those off. Not everybody showed up. And it was a little gusty, a little windy. And I'm really glad that we didn't have to call the fire department at all. But, as it's gone, like I've had years where I'm like, I'm just not going to do that part of it anymore. And after this year, I'm like, all right, we're not going to do this anymore like this way. So I think we'll still do the in memory of and just find a new way to be able to memorialize people for that, and not do the lanterns. We've changed up the lanterns and tried to do the biodegradable. They don't light as well, and then they don't fly as well, and then we have some issues with them. So one landed in the pool, which was cool. I actually ran it all the way down because I was a little nervous. It was on fire and so it'd get up into the jet stream. It was fine, fairly fine at the beginning, and then it'd get up in the jet stream, and then it just would shoot north. I mean, if the wind on the ground was going a really good direction, but then it'd just shoot north, and the one came down before I was like, oh no, I gotta go. So I took off literally and ran all the way to the pool. And then the next one is coming down and it landed inside the pool area. So, which was, the whole point is to do it when there's snow, so we don't have issues, but obviously on top of someone's house or something, it would be awful. So, so we're going to find a new way to do it. And we may still offer some type of lantern, but it'd be more of them coming to pick them up and doing them on their own. Not something that we would do to us. So. Yeah, so we could just do a candle throughout. I mean, we do 225 lanterns, so there's definitely a lot of options. Even the lanterns that we have are metal lanterns with glass around them, and put the candle in. Get 10-hour candles, so they last us 2 years usually. We're able to use them in. So yeah, maybe it's people just like buying a candle per se, and it's just that when it's dark you can't see that. So I don't know how or maybe it's just putting names up too, like on a board by. Something. I just always liked the idea of someone being able to come out that night.
I like the idea of them on the handles because that also wants people to walk along.
Right, and be able to see. Yeah. No, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I always think it's. I just think of all the tragedies that I covered.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we always see is candles.
Like a lot of, yeah.
And you start getting a bunch of them together.
Sure.
Stuff someone does the walk and then at the end of the walk.
Oh, and have like a lot. Oh, that's a good idea. I thought about that. I like that idea actually. They would just sign up ahead of time and.
Yeah, even if you did it, you had kind of a space halfway along. Even if you have a few set up.
I think really you could for each person that signed up, and they could memorialize it however they would even like to before the event. I thought that's kind of cool. I don't know. We just always were trying to find a niche of like why people should come to our candlelight hike rather than like go to one. I mean, they're all over the place now. It's just something that we've been doing for a very long time. So
did you do them a couple times?
Yeah, so we've done them up on Hickory Hill 3 or 4 times. I always say like never again because it's so much work walking up and down the hill all night.
Yeah.
We did have a snowmobile the last year, so that was great. And I actually was able to transport people up that couldn't walk that steep hill. So there were some of those too.
I did like it in our neighborhood.
Yes, that was my favorite one of all time. And we didn't have a good turnout at all. But that one it was just the setting was really nice. It snowed that night, like it was just huge snowflakes coming down. And it was pretty cool. But now the ideal.
An actual bonfire.
Yeah. Yeah. They're a little small.
They're not. They don't provide
enough heat. Yeah.
Bonfire would be really fun.
Yeah, and so that's something we can do in those spaces a lot easier than we could in other ones. Like that has concrete. That was the old concrete area that when we did it there is where the barn was.
Oh yeah.
So we could do it, and it was like kind of down, so like the wind even was out of it. It was really nice, but we didn't get a good turnout that year. So, and it did snow a lot right before it. But we tried to keep it down in Xander now because obviously that's expanded and we can incorporate the business community in it. And that was kind of my push, or has been the push for a while. And
then after, and Montague's was wall-to-wall people. So then we ended up going into Middleton.
Yeah, it's like, that's like it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was our other thing was, how do we incorporate, or how could like food somehow be incorporated better? Because that was what made us leave.
Sure, you're hungry, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Or even like, I don't know if like Ray's Tacos would want to set up something or do some kind of special, or like any of these places would do like a picnic. I don't know, anything.
Yeah, I like those ideas. It's always so hard for Cross Plains, I feel like in general, with special events, because it's so hit and miss. Now I think like this year, incorporating Crossroads, they're able to advertise a lot more and like get more people there, maybe. But it's always like, I don't know why, but our events are always, they're really hard. Like people don't attend them as well as they do in other communities, I feel. I don't know why that is, but you know, that's why incorporating food, like those people are obviously going to have expenses involved in that, right? And unless we sell tickets maybe beforehand or something, so they knew how many, they were going to have, I think that might be good.
Could permit to carry beer on the boardwalk.
You can carry beer, you just can't sell it. You can carry it along the boardwalk, you just can't have it in a glass bottle. So it's in a park. It's in the park, so it's legal. On bigger news, we did hear as well, one thing that people would like to see incorporated if we keep it in that location is like a loop, so that they're walking and like come around. So I was like, oh, we could do something of that sort, just going out to East Street and then coming around to the old fire station. It wouldn't give you, and you could do a loop and come around Bourbon, but it's not necessarily ideal, to walk the street. Or I guess you could walk the path on the other side. But that's something we'll look into maybe for next year, see if we can incorporate some small loop in there. On bigger news, I guess I should have started this off with. So we did lose a recreation coordinator. Andrea took a new position with UW. She's been gone now for a couple of weeks. I've been advertising for that position as a recreation and aquatics supervisor position. And it closed on Friday. We have 2 applications for the job. So we'll be interviewing on this Wednesday for the job and kind of see where things go.
External
all external candidates. One is a current programmer in and around Dane County here, and the other one is actually works at Quick Trip but has a degree in rec management, so just hasn't used it yet. So some options.
So moving Andrea impacts the summer program?
Yes, as of right now, the biggest thing for me, it's not only just Andrea. So, she obviously has that. There's other staff that have had interviews and not had offers yet, but that could be coming as well. So, that could be a huge hit. I think the biggest thing right now is figuring out what our current capacity is with what we have now, right? Like what my biggest thing is that I know this happened is that like why Andrea left is money, like which makes sense, right? We all understand that. And this is like a small community, so you go to something bigger, you should be making more money. But I think the hardest part is that the impact she had in regards to like camp and after school programs, the ones that like make the village budget side, but also like the family side of like how many people actually needed it, like utilized it. That's going to be the impact, because no, I don't believe neither of these candidates coming in have any of that experience. So it's more now of like, how do we continue a version of that, knowing that we can't keep that? And I think the other side that I got from her in regards to like her exit interview was like, I'm burnt out. Like this is just a lot. Like the summer months are too much, really, is what it came down to. And I was like, I can understand that, like especially at that money point, where you're at. You're like, what am I doing this for in some sense, right? So my goal in general, I mean, for the last 4 years has been to get this position changed to a recreation and aquatic supervisor, because that's where the need is. There's so many changes throughout the day that I can't be in these locations. So having another person to be able to do that has been huge, right? And I think it gets us to the point of knowing what the needs are of the community. Like you're out in it. You're not just stuck in one area of your day, And so going forward, it's just right now I've went through the activity guide with the staff, and we're trying to figure out what we have for outside, like what are some of our independent contractors that have run programs for us, make sure that we're setting those up for sure. Those are obviously more expensive programs though. So that's like one niche, but totally like that's not a catch-all. Like there's a lot of kids that can't afford a $200 program, right? And frankly, I've always been against those programs for the most part.
Are they
But-
funded, though?
Yeah, I mean, some of engineering for kids for some reason are really well funded. So those will be in there for sure for next year. And I hope summer camp is there as well, just in a smaller, like, you know, we took 44 kids last year. That is a lot of kids in general. And I think just scaling that back would be very helpful. You know, that's what I got within her exit too. And the hardest part right now, as everyone knows, is staffing. And that's staffing at every level. It's not just at a top tier or middle tier. It's everywhere. And maybe it actually be worse than the part-time or limited term employee side of things. So, you know, we've been really struggling the last couple of weeks for after school. Like we don't have anybody. We threw it out to all the paras. I know the school district threw it out to them as well. We, I mean, we've put ads out everywhere, and I increased the pay for after school people to $22 to $25 an hour, and we're still, I don't have one application. So it's like, I don't know what the answer is to that. And it's sad because like at this point, I mean, Katarina and I are able to keep it going, but there's so many other things that are being left behind then right now. And it's like, should your director really be watching kids for 3 hours in the day? So that's the hard part, you know. And that was always my thing about like, should we really be doing this anymore? Or I didn't want the program to begin with because I was more like, we start doing these sorts of things and it becomes normal and it becomes like expensive. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, it's just a weird time, you know, in regards to trying to hire people and still be able to offer everything that we've always kind of offered. I mean, I think the hard part is like you start doing these things for so long and it's like it's what motivates you as well to like keep things going. But then if you don't get support staff to do it, you can't do it on your own. So I'll let you know at the next meeting. Hopefully, I mean, the activity guide should be ready to roll out by then. It should be actually out by the 15th is our goal, of March. So the link and everything should be up by then. I am planning to send out a postcard to everyone like we sent out the activity guide for. So there will be some expense still within that category of our budget. Just to let people know, like, hey, check out online. You won't be getting this in the mail, but check this out online now to see our programs. Because the other part is I don't want to not do it, and now people are not signing up.
QR code on it.
Yep, no, the QR will take them right to our website.
And you will, I mean, and you would print off copies at the village or something?
Yeah, and we always did that. Yeah, we did that before, so we'll have them here as well. So,
What about if you're done, I have 2 questions. I was just kind of curious, because we have met since November.
yeah. So I'm just going to kind of give a couple more things here. So just to let everyone know, kind of more or less my time as well. So we've been down a guy at public facilities, and we've had staff that's been on vacation for a couple of weeks. So the last 2 snowfalls we've had, I've been out plowing streets for hours on end, running plan commission meetings when the administrator is gone. Like there's just so many of these things that keep adding up that like are taking away from my normal day as well, or like things that are happening. So I'm leaving, not leaving, but I'm going on vacation. No,
You feel that calm?
yeah. No, I'm
I don't want to meeting now.
yeah, no, I'm going on vacation. I leave this Saturday and I'm gone for that entire week. It's very limited. It looks like cell service or Wi-Fi at all. You know.
I would say that's great.
It is and it isn't, right? Because then when you come back, it's just going to be crazy. But
Enjoy
you
that
know,
week.
yeah, it is what it is. That's kind of right. Everyone's having that same stress, right?
Go on vacation.
Right.
Come back.
I know.
Bust your ass. Catch up.
Yeah.
So. Oh,
Yeah, I don't plan on leaving at all. It's just more of.
So when you get called on other assignments, who's tasking you with that?
I will just say myself. So That's
Helping out.
right. So like, so for public facilities, it's been more or less like, I let Jerry know before, like if you're in need, like feel free to call me. So like this last snowfall we had, they would have been down 2 guys. My parks worker was out as well. So if I wouldn't have jumped in and helped, they would have been here they probably literally would have been plowing for about 18 straight hours. I mean, that was such a heavy, wet snow. I was pretty much by the pool on that side of the community from 11:30 until 8 p.m. So that's,
Getting ready for Thursday again.
yeah. And they're always on Thursdays when everyone has their trash out. So that makes it even worse, like trying to dodge everything. And then people get mad because, you didn't get close enough to their curb. It's just, but no, I will say, like, I just said, if you're and this is part of my problem, but I said, like, if you're in need of help, like, let me know. Like, you guys can't be here expecting to be doing all this for 18 hours. It's just not, let alone like the roads were bad as they were because of how everything packed down so bad. And for the most part, like they help me out with different projects throughout the day or, when things are happening. So I always feel kind of like, well, we're a team and that's how a team works, is like picking up for people when they're gone and when things are being done. Jerry as a department head plows so he comes in at 4 a.m, 3 a.m, whatever it is, he's salaried as well, but he's still plowing, based on those things. So I think it's just good for you guys to know. And I think it's good for the board to know, like, maybe we're not as, I mean, it's efficient because you're not paying us any overtime or any of those, but it's not necessarily like sustainable. I guess that's the word. And, like at a time right now, you'd hope, I know we used to have part-time snowplow drivers from time to time that would be part of the crew, but we haven't had that in probably 5, 6, 7 years. And I don't know now how that even if that's even an option, with the way that it's tough to get employees. But I just think it's good for everyone to know. I think that's like second time this year I've done it. So
Have you got any assistance from the ATV people? That came up with that they were gonna try to help?
no, and that's not necessarily just their fault either. So for someone on an ATV to go plow public streets or public space in general, technically they need to have liability insurance, right? Which car insurance isn't part of that because they need liability on themselves. They need liability on the space, and then they need to add the village as an additional insured. So like, who's going to go through all that work, pay the money to do that? Like, I mean, it's a good thought in general. Back in the day before insurance got involved in years, it was probably a really good idea, but now I don't see anyone, taking that on.
Nothing on public facilities, but I know people do it for elderly.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect them to do it for like streets, but I thought sidewalks particularly, because I know like it takes a long time to get to the sidewalks.
Yeah.
It's just, it'd be a
Yeah.
vehicle.
And that's another huge thing. And I think Jerry's going to figure that out more now. Like we have these 2 new developments, and our goal, our deal has always been, if we put snow on the sidewalk, we take it off, right? Like Main Street's that way. All the paths are obviously that way. We try and get to those as well with our trucks or whatnot. But taking the Ventrac or taking the skid steer, whatever it may be, all the way out to the new Creekside development, you on sidewalks that entire way. So you're literally clearing sidewalks pretty much, all the way around the village, which took Randy by himself on Friday, took him over 8 hours to do. And granted, that snow and it was kind of ice and packed down, but it's like, that's a lot. It's a lot more than we used to ever have, that's for sure. So now you're taking a guy out of a plow. So you're getting the sidewalks last, which happened to be this time the next day. So there's just a lot of things to work out, like in general, like efficiencies. No. Some of his, because it's where the drainage is. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, you're talking like
There's a big stretch there.
Yeah.
The first time into the neighborhood.
Yeah, where it's frontage of the village.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of that out in the New Creek side as well. It goes up through the park and then where the mailboxes are.
The village will do that shut down back on the city too.
Yep. But the nice thing about the pass is we're able to just get the truck out. Yeah. And that's why that was like a big push for Brewery Road, because we're gonna be pushing the snow up on the sidewalks anyway. It's like, let's do a pass. So, and then, just overall, like, I don't know what my plan is as of yet, but in regards to staffing, we're gonna talk about obviously some of the limited term stuff tonight for the pool. I also have a limited term one that I'll bring up next time for rec and possibly parks, but I don't know, like just, going to conference and talking to other directors about what some of their communities are doing. I don't know if you saw what Sun Prairie did for their employees, but it was incredible. Talk about wanting to keep your staff happy or wanting to keep your people. And granted, they have the capacity to do it. Obviously, I think they had a TIF come off, but I think these are things that the village board in general needs to start looking at closer, because obviously you have people that call the village a stepping stone. I don't think that's really fair. I don't think that's really what you want in all of your employees either. But especially when you have as many people as you do that have been here for 15 plus years. But the village has to look at staffing plans, like the future of our staffing, the current staffing has to be looked at very closely in the next couple of years. We're gonna have a ton of retirements in every department. And, even just hiring people at the current rate that people are leaving at is not adequate to what local neighboring communities are hiring people at. Like, it's just incredible. So staff is currently working. We have a meeting actually Wednesday to come together with a compensation plan. So like, how do we get to even like what the district has, where you have different steps that you can get to, how do people get there? How do you categorize them and what group they're in? We've been asking for this since 2013, so 10 years, and nothing's happened. The last 4 years, we've really been pushing for it. So staff's taking it on themselves to get this done, and it will be done. It'll be brought to you as well, because I want your input in regards to like different categories people are in and kind of the whys. So yeah, like step processes. So like grouping, so you get put in a group, right? Like category 10 is your highest position in the community. Then you have category 9, 8, 7 goes all the way down. And kind of like why they're in, like the whole thing is about why you should be in these. And then obviously it has a range that you should be within. The village did this in 2013. They paid $10,000 to HR Gov to come in and provide these stats to the village board. And that part of it, the village board didn't adopt. And so when Bill was here, he actually tried to get them to adopt somewhat of that strategy. They didn't do that either. So we will be bringing this forward because we're behind. I mean, we are so far behind, and not saying department heads in general, but like we are so far behind in all the support staff stuff. And that has to be discussed and figured out a way to keep people. I mean, you look at, let's took that away. Merit they kept. Now that's gone now, but merit they kept in there at that time. That got taken away. But it's more of like, what most people are getting is, if you look at the last 16 years on average, I think an employee got a 2% increase. 2% that's just 2%. That's cost of living, but there's no like ways to bump that up. No ways to get more than that, right?
Well, it's nowhere near.
And not even close.
Well, and that's become a significant issue because now you can't hire people. You're hiring people at the same rate that you thankfully for the last 10 years, which
right.
pisses them off and makes them want to leave.
Which makes other staff want to leave. That's my thing. And that's what I've been trying to say. And I said, we had such a good group of people and younger, like even at public facilities for a while. Why are we not trying to pay them and keep them than trying to pay someone else that isn't competent enough at the time more? Like I think in general, the idea of that. Now, if you're moving on to a position where you're stepping up and you're going on, great. Or you move, like there are other things, but if it's just based on money all the time and you're taking a lateral or a less position, which we've had happen too, for more money, what are we doing here? So
When was that HR consulting work done?
2013.
June? And it's even still.
Right, and Bill did a good job at updating that info, putting cost of living since then. I mean, he did a really good job of that, but it never got to anywhere. And so our goal now is to make sure that these things are getting to the village board for at least discussion. Doesn't have to be action on it, but the board in general they have to understand what we're actually working on, where we're going. And that's going to be a big push for staff. I mean, department heads in general. That's going to be a huge thing come forward in the next 6 months. So I think in general, that's all I have. I mean, keep grinding. It's a great community. It's a great department. It's just pains, like anyone else has. So but we'll get there. So Jen, you have some questions?
Staffing is such a big one. I feel like these are like, and knowing that you're helping other areas, other departments too. And I mean, that you weren't always, and that same as in being, I mean, I understand it's always taking the village to kind of make the magic happen, but
what's really interesting is like you have someone, I'm willing to do those things. I don't know if you'd never necessarily get that in the next person, right? For one. For two, that's not always easy to say either, or easy to do. Like for instance, or like Andrea leaves, right? I don't have someone else in a different department that I can just pull and be like, hey, I need you to do this. You know what I mean? Like that's a different lane than a lot of other things people are able to take on. So that's what makes that position in general like tough. Like that's like and yeah, is Katerina stepping up? Absolutely. And she's doing a great job, but it's like it's just like I don't get to pull one of the public facility guys to come up and watch kids from 2:30 to 4.
your parents probably be very happy.
No, yeah, exactly.
Better person since.
No, I know, but it's not what they're employed to do either. And I know right now in general, public sector, people are doing things that they didn't do before. I mean, it's just the way it is, and you try and do as much as you can to make sure things still happen or things still get done, but it's going to be a lot. I think at some point you're going to get, and I know like teachers are going through the same thing. And at some point they're just, and it's happening. I mean, there's a wave of people that have left and it's just kind of scary. It's like, what can we do to help? And it's not always money, like I don't think it's always money. Personally, I think we just, as a community, come together to help frame it, to either make them feel more appreciated or make their job a little easier, so.
Have you heard anything from, Jennifer was still wanting more about the dog park?
So yes, so we had a meeting with her. I did have a meeting with her. We talked about different areas in the village that we could have a park. Some of these were village properties already. The one that we talked about was the wastewater treatment plant. There's like a triangle on the wastewater treatment plant that it's within a fenced in area as well. However, it is all in the wetland. So, 4 to 5 months out of the year, it may not be able to be used, which is kind of I don't know if that's a good thing, but being next to the creek, you can't do any mitigation. You wouldn't be able to fill it or do anything there. They did also talk about the Beekner site where a lot of the discussions went around the pool and the new sports facility and all those things as well. So that's a location. And then the other one we talked about was out off of Highway P. So the land that's off of P, that's to the east of Creek's Crossing. Yeah. Yep. So the village purchased it, and it was actually provided to the village in lieu of parkland. So, which I wasn't actually for, but if it could still be used as parkland, then that'd be great. But there's also a lot of concerns and questions out there in regards to the wetlands, and then like so I took that from that meeting. I went and talked to Jay and I asked him what the plan was for that. And he said, well, the plan is still to be some type of mitigation purposes in regards to water or rainfall, stormwater areas. But I don't know where that's going. And I thought, well, could we do like hybrid approach and have that be dog park and, containment area of some sort? He was like, I don't know, could you? And I was like, so that's where that went. Since then, I have not done a whole lot with it. Obviously, a lot of things happening. And she sent me an email and I emailed her back right away, just saying that I'm sorry, I haven't gotten further on this. I did look at the wetland area. So Jerry went down to we looked at a map in regards to the space by the treatment plant, because I liked that idea because the fencing is already there. The only problem is we would have to probably change where the gate is. The gate goes, so that's gated. We all have a number button to get in. It's where like all the dumpsters are and things. We would have to wooden that. Well, we could use the strip of blacktop, like the road that goes into that, and we could use one side of it as parking. So I was thinking, and then the other idea would be to buy the wetland that's next to it at the RIP zone. And I did approach them on that the last time we talked about dog parks, and they weren't willing to sell it. So they had other development ideas, which I was do. But so no, we're not any further. But it was really good conversation with the three of them that night. We had a good meeting, and Bill Blochus was a part of it as well, who's been asking for dog parks for a while. He used to be on park board, so.
County supervisor one?
No, he didn't get elected. But yeah, anything else? I feel like you had more questions over there.
Whatever happened, talking to the attorney with the pickleball.
Yep. So that's moved forward. So I didn't even have to do with the attorney. Qual Line purchased the $2,300 a piece, 4 of those. The standards that we requested to be added to that space. Those are no cost to the village. Yep. We will be paying for the painting of those courts though to be redone. That's how we worked that out. So I figured that's a lot cheaper. I mean, that'll be about probably maybe 6,000 or so. Still, I will have to pay for them to repaint, but that gets them repaying the whole thing. If Qualline did it, he would only pay for the parts that they like where the lines are off. And I was like, no, because then it's gonna look all goofy. Like, let's just do it right. So good question though. But those are ordered. They actually may already be. He should have them soon. It said 6 to 8 weeks when they ordered them, which was back in December. So yeah. And we still have a lot of money left over in that as well. So that I did ask finance or ask Bobby to carry that money over for this purpose, and if there are any other things that can happen or come up right away. Yeah. So.
Are there any updates on the proposed multi-use sports facility?
So we had a we had like 2-hour meeting the other day at Sketchworks to kind of go over like, the building, the square footage, parking lot, and coming up with other ways to help with traffic issues and stuff like that. I gave them kind of our old plans that we had for them just to kind of look at and see, what we were thinking about before when we had Military Road kind of connecting through with like not a drive or not a road, but a drive, like a access. So they're looking into that. I know that they have over $1 million already generated in it. I also know that there are a lot of pledges that are saying that they want to see something happen soon, and that's not going to happen. There's obviously a lot to be done, just like we're doing with the pool. Like they have more or less, what the square footage will be, what the building could look like in the parking lot and all those things. But now what needs to happen is more likely we'll end up doing a certified survey map of the space that's needed for this project. We'll be working with our attorney to come up with language to allow for a lease of that property from the village, most likely. And then the project itself will be taking on privately with then being handed back over to the village once the note is, or once it's paid off, would be more or less how it would happen. I think the biggest thing that's happened is, a lot of people heard that it's a baseball facility, and even I guess a lot of like the pledges were hearing that, and they're like, well, you don't care about baseball per se. I had one of them come into my office actually last week and had a really good 2-hour conversation about what we do, because he didn't know what our department has been offering or what we provide, and he was like, wow, this is what I needed to see. This is what this facility will be utilized for, and what we need to be talking about. And this is something we will get behind. We can't get behind it just being one, phase or one thing. So that was good. But I don't see, I'd say there won't be any ground breaking or movement of any dirt or any of those sorts of things, I would say, through this summer. Would be my opinion. But I know Jim is very motivated. He really wants to see this get rolling. And was given so when someone comes to develop a property, even though it's village property this time, there are all these metrics that you have to meet. They'll have to meet all those same metrics. So that's, and I think that would maybe be a little eye-opening on the costs and all the things that would be associated with that. So. And that's what Sketchworks pretty much told us to do. So.
Sketchworks is a consultant.
Yeah, they design, and they don't have their own civil engineer on, but they have a lot that they work with. I did send them the stormwater management plan from when Viridian did it, so that they could look at that to see if they could incorporate into what we currently have there. To be helpful, I think, for all of us and you, making sure that nothing kind of backs up and make sure the basins are big enough. So. We need that property to evolve. That would help out a lot of things. The road, the access off of airport would be huge. If we could get that all the way out to 14 too, somehow, it'd be huge. And then you talk about growth, because it'd be easy in and easy out.
Right,
do a little business park right by 14.
That really changes.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? I haven't heard much. I haven't had any meetings with Kevin as of late. I know that they're gearing up for trout days right now. We've talked about the Couch to 5K, doing an actual run on the day of trout days, and funding to go towards park improvements. Not the amphitheater, but other things that could involve from that. So, but I have not heard where they're at or kind of what's going on. I had a meeting with Kevin and more or less just a vice president of a construction company to figure out what are the parameters that we should try and be looking at. Could people donate just the concrete, the generaling aspect of it? So I feel like we're kind of back to the drawing board within that, and I don't know if it really got us any further. I just think they just need to raise the money and do it right. Or scale the project down and do it that way. But I haven't had conversations with them as of late. So.
New park?
Your park playground? Or yeah, yep. You're the first time. Yeah, usually April 15th. They won't try and do things before that. Now, if we have an early spring, they'll be out here, and I'll let you know when they're doing that. But we don't normally like to start any of those projects for them, because then if you end up if it's muddy and you get a bunch of rain and now you have all the runoff into those areas, unless you get wood chips right away too, you can get those in, but otherwise it's just a mucky mess. But, yeah. Anything else? All right. Great.
Move on to discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of November 21st, 2022.
Now make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Right. Oh, my head is again, thank you.
All in favor?
Okay, there we go. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding the pool feasibility survey results.
All right, so, we met tonight, so the pool feasibility group met. We didn't get through the entire survey, but I think for the most part, got through a lot of it. It's obviously the summary of it was within your packet, in the packet tonight. And I think my plan was to kind of go through them if you'd like, although most of you were already part of that. Jed, you're the only one that wasn't. I don't know, did you look through these at all? No, okay. So, we received a really good amount. I felt like 355 total surveys, which talked about a little bit before. A lot of them, majority by far was they were village residents, so that was good. Got a good response within that. 280 some surveys were from the village here. A good wide range of ages as well. Obviously, the family kind of range, the 35 to 44 was the highest mark, along with the 10 and under kind of group. So the kids were involved in this process. About 82% of the people had visited the pool in the last couple of years. We received 63, I think, total that hadn't. Things that prevent people from using the pool. There are things that were nothing, don't have time, not interested. We did see that we didn't have the desired amenities was one thing, and also the other pools in the area were desirable. Within that, one of the questions, the biggest question that I feel like we really wanted to get out of this survey was, where would you like to see the pool? Majority of the population felt that, or I shouldn't say majority, 49% of the people that took the survey felt that the new location which would be over by at 3000 Evergreen Parkway near Glacier Creek Middle School, would be the best place for it. And 41% thought that the current location was still a good location for it. Amenities, I think the big thing, swim lanes. We want 8 swim lanes, is what we kind of saw in there and what we saw in a lot of the discussion. Diving board and zero depth were also really important into things that they'd like to see. Things that weren't as important would have been like the drop slide, the large water slide, the climbing wall, and lazy river. Those all kind of fell in like the same area of like 8 allows for more swimmers at a time. We have 6. And a lot of depending on, we'll talk about this here in a little bit, but depending on like community's growth and usage, I would agree with them in the 8 lanes, like just seeing what our current, usage is within the pool, the lane aspect of it or the swim team side of things is.
And then there was a minimum of host tournaments.
No, you can.
I mean, I just think that a lot of times people get new facilities, then they have an opportunity to different things, and then certainly if it was you need to tend to host a big tournament that maybe you go bigger. Or,
you don't need 8 to do a club, like the Tri-County recreational stingrays, like we all kind of do what we all have.
Yeah.
But, like family pilots in here, they would need these at least to host some type of event.
Yeah, minimum, right? Yeah.
One of the thoughts I had to saw out there, put the lanes, the sports complex, put the activities for in the neighborhood stuff.
I'd like to omit this from the record. I'm just kidding.
He's trying to speak it out of existence.
Yeah. I mean, so in general, I mean, I think in like the group that I met before too, the feasibility group I think in general, we got some really good information from people, and I think it's a really good starting point. I think the questions always after these things are like, okay, what's next, right? And just talking with the group tonight, what I'd like to see is us going out to request for proposals now to more or less have them do some of the background work on this and more or less finding out. I mean, we did the background. I mean, I think in general we have an idea of a lot of the questions that they would have asked. Now we have answers to from the group that were a part of that survey part. And I feel like they'll get the feasibility group and this committee on more of the right path to success and being able to come up with not only the size of facility we need, but is that space that is currently over there really ample for 8 lanes and everything that they had or like people thought was important. I don't know that. I don't have that expertise. I don't think anyone on the committee either has that. I don't think anyone on the village board has that. I think that's the next step. And I told the group I was at conference last week, a couple days, actually trying to recruit people to come work for us. And we normally have 100+ students at our conference. There were 5. So I was like, this is another thing, right? But I talked to a number of the pool consultants at the trade show. And they more or less talked about like this part of it is what we do. Like we do these things really well, mainly coming in with a impartial plan. We don't have any skin in the game in regards to like our dog in the fight in regards to where it's going to be located or do you actually need a new facility? That was one thing that I said, I guarantee you're going to come in and say yes, but maybe you won't. Maybe you've seen a lot worse. I don't know. I was saying I've only really seen ours for the most part. So I'd really like that to be our next step.
That's where I'd really like to get their input as far as like, okay, well, where you're at, you want 8 lanes with 0 entry, we can do it this way. And actually know for certain, is it going to be $4 million versus a new facility at 7 or something?
Well, I think that's the point I was gonna make is the last thing we discussed about questions. The cost will influence what the decision is. I mean, we can want to do it one place or the other. Easier, so that's.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I mean, the rest of us are at a point of, I don't know. I mean, there are things we could work on in regards to the planning, but we can't really give people definitive answers. And I think that's going to be needed. And the community is going to ask for these things too, right? Like the visioning session I thought was great. I wish there were maybe like 3 times the people just because, it'd been nice to hear like other questions that people had. I thought people had really good questions about the process and like, one of the things that came up was like, if we were to be at this current location, if it were to be at the current location, what would that look like in regards to like that pool season? And I was like, well, that's a good question. I can't necessarily answer this for a construction company, but I would probably have to say that our pool would be closed for a year. And so now you have all these kids on swim team that find something else for the summer because they're not gonna not swim. And then how do you get them back is like the real question, right? And we don't want that. Like
That's part of the lesson of COVID is,
yeah,
kids and people, adults that got out of sports, so many of the leagues.
Yeah,
just soccer league that I was in.
Done, right. And so I think that's a good thing to know as well. Like, and that's what this consultant, that's what they do. They'll know this. They'll know all these questions to that for sure. It's not just shooting from the hip. But I thought like overall the visioning session was great with the questions. I thought people had some really good questions.
Well, I think we have to keep moving forward or.
Right.
To be honest, I'll lose interest.
Right. I'm with you.
So,
And this is what happens when you don't have those groups or plans going forward. So
Do we need a motion on this? I mean, it sounds like the motion is to accept the study and move it
Well-
to the, right?
Sure, I'll take that. I mean, I'll at least use that as, it doesn't have to go to the board that way. Or it doesn't have to go to the board this next meeting, because I'll just do that, because it's not like there's any cost implications on it already, so. But yeah, if you guys are good with me, you guys believe like that's our next step, then if I get that in a motion, I think that's great.
And I wasn't here for the whole thing, so I'll let you guys answer that.
Is it just that straightforward? The next step in full feasibility would be to go out to RFP, go out to RFP.
Yeah,
I would accept the survey and that staff and send it to RFP.
Okay. Yeah, might accept the survey, in light of the recent survey results, I don't know, just accept the survey.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, you're highlighting it, so.
All right, I'll make a motion to, in light of the recent survey, accept the results, and to move to an RFP process to get a better understanding of what our next steps are for,
Leave it up to RFP.
all right,
I'll second.
technically,
All
The clarification is there's no
there's
expense in the
no
RFP, right?
expense.
No expense at this time to go out to it. Obviously, when the RFPs come back, then there'll be an expense incorporated within that. Like,
But we're not
we don't pay
accepting
for it. You'd have to accept the RFP. Correct. Yeah. Yeah,
You pay for it once you accept their project, so you
Correct.
get 5 people that submit it and it's part of the
Correct.
process when you.
correct. And I think like what the group, what the feasibility group has already done is like gotten a lot of the background information for them. So there are things within what they would normally provide that they won't have to provide. So we've already made it cheaper, in that regard. So
right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding wages for limited term employees for 2023.
all right. So I should have made this limited term employees at the Cross Plains pool. However, I think it's fine. So just for background information here. So normally with part-time wages, staff takes care of all that. So we figure out going rates, increase those, and make it part of the budget process, right? Not saying that this is any different, but I think this also allows all of you to be aware of the prices and the pay for these positions, and allows you to ask questions, like, are we paying enough, or aren't we? Why were they so low before? Whatever those sorts of things might be. But so what's in front of you is what I'd like to do for this upcoming year. Increasing basket room $1, increasing lifeguards $1.50, increasing WSI $2, increasing our management $3, and increasing our manager position $2. The numbers that are proposed for the 2023 pay rate are in line with our current 2023 expense budget. So and obviously there are things that could change within this as well, and that's what makes it kind of tough thing to budget for, in regards to number of staff that you get, number of kids that you need for session 2 of swim lessons. Like, there are all kinds of things, all different parameters that could change the amount of money needed at the end of the summer. My goal is always, every month I look at where we're at within our budgets and figure out if we're over or under those positions. I came up with these numbers were based off of the communities that were listed here. Now, these aren't all parks and recreation departments. These are park and rec, and these are school districts. So they're kind of intertwined here a little bit. But I tried to use, obviously Middleton is a community that's
They're all municipalities.
next to us. No, some of these are school districts. So you see on there like Wisconsin Rapids School District,
And like, so the difference between a lifeguard and the lifeguard WSI
Yep.
is they're certified, the
Yeah.
WSI are certified.
Wisconsin swim instructors.
Yes.
Yeah, so that means that they're actually able to take on Red Cross swimming lessons. So they can teach lessons. They've been certified following, and you can't so normally you get your lifeguard certification, and then that next year you get your WSI certification if that's the route that you want to go, like if you want to be able. Now, we don't offer Red Cross lessons. We offer Cross Plains lessons. We got away from the Red Cross because the Red Cross were charging us per kid. And then we had to send everything into them, wait for certifications. It was a nightmare. So we changed that, and we also wanted to change lessons at that time. Like we felt like there should be more in some of the lessons and less in others. So we made our own variation of it. They are close, in general, like with other communities or what they have, but most communities have went away from that Red Cross. Shouldn't say most, I should say a number of them. Yeah, and obviously WSI that's another certification, so you're paying for that.
You get that 225 for the right song.
It could be,
Use that.
yeah.
WSI.
I think the original lifeguarding course, if you take it through the school, is $300. I believe so. Yeah, and so WSI, I don't think it was that much, but it might have went up to that. And then what I have in job descriptions, so like to be an assistant manager or to be a manager, you have to have your lifeguarding and you have to have WSI. So you'd have to have both of those to be in the management positions. And that's not stated in here, but in your job description, that's what it's stated. Now, have we had assistant managers and managers without WSI? Yes. But it's kind of like, we hope you have that because you're the ones that are during staff trainings, our swim lesson staff trainings, you're the one that are usually leading those. So we want you to be competent within the swim instructor background. But that's also why the pay is a little bit more. And the other side of it is like, you have a lot of responsibilities in regards to safety of our pool. I mean, I think it's interesting how lack of pay there are in some of the references to these types of positions, like EMS, another one, right? Some nursing, like just people that you need certifications for things, but yet you don't really get paid for it. And that's maybe what you were referring to earlier. Mm-hmm. It takes you how many, I've never broken that out, Jen. I like the way you think.
Well, it was $225.
Yeah.
If they pay $225 certification with $12 a month, it's about $19 a week. So get rush on that certification.
Do you offer to do that, like at our own expense? I mean, like I know I came from Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
Well, training in-house. They do it all in-house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's paid for and it's
so ideally, and this is where I was going with the recreation and aquatic supervisor, that job description states that within 12 months you become lifeguard certified. Within 18 months you become lifeguard instructor certified. Once you become a lifeguard instructor, we can run classes here at the cost of the certificate. So the $300 that you're paying for the school, I don't remember how much the certificate is, but I think it's $40. Okay, so the certificate's $40, but you're paying for the staff time. We could set it up where if you worked for us, you'd pay the $40, or maybe at that point you don't have to pay for it as long as you come to work for us, right? Like we pay for that in your check, or at the end of that summer, something of that sort. Lifeguard certifications are every 2 years. Doesn't seem right. I think it's every 3 years. I can't remember now. But so, once they get certified, they could obviously go off and work somewhere else. But that first year, at least we'd have them here. So it could be something that we look at doing. And that's what I was hoping for within that. Like you know, the whole thought was like Andrea was going to get those certifications, but when there was no reason for her to do it, like compensation wise, like, and she wasn't, you know, wasn't really willing to do more because she hadn't had it in so long either. So, but ideally this position would, you know, get those certifications, be more hands-on like that at the pool. It'd be great to have someone that's like, you know, not micromanaging the managers, but being able to like oversee them more often on like the lifeguard things that they should be doing. It's kind of my hope.
And this is the hours, that's what they'll pay out, correct?
So last year, yeah. So last year we had roughly 4,430 hours at the pool total. How I've come up with the amount of each year is I try to do a 3-year average of all of these, and that's what I was saying. Like it changes. It usually doesn't change too much. Now, how we also have this set up is that everybody that comes back, they get a quarter increase, providing they were in that same position the year before. Now, if you were a guard with WSI and you went to be an assistant manager, you would just get the assistant manager wage. You wouldn't get the quarter on top of it. But if you come,
Because we need a quarter an hour.
I know it's nothing. I know it's nothing. But I'm just at the end of the day, it does add up, and that's where I was. You know,
I mean,
that's where I'm at.
Did we have the ability to like offer a full membership?
yeah, I don't think,
No, we took that. They took that away a long time ago.
I mean, you know, can we offer lifeguards things a free full membership with the lifeguard?
Yeah, you get that already. And you don't want to come to the pool if you're working. Yes, most of them. There are a few, I guess, that will come and swim with the kids if they're swim team coaches too or something, but their family usually has a pass as well, or you know, if they work there, I've never had anyone get an actual membership on top of it. But I like your thinking in that regard, like in general, just for all employees.
I think they go to pools and it is.
Right,
To be
right.
honest.
Yeah, especially at that age. Yeah.
is this the right staffing number for you? I mean, it's 4,400 hours. You broke it up by 2-week intervals, right? Is that what I'm, like on 5/27, 6/10, 6/24?
Yeah, so-
they're like
Yep.
2 weeks, 49 hours
Yep.
across 2 weeks.
Yeah, so this is so the position actually had a name next to it. I took those away. But it also like this is what it would come out to this year with their wages. And I actually added a few in there because there were, you know, we had 3 or 4 lifeguards that resigned last summer, which has never happened before because they went and made more money or didn't have their certifications. But so I added more hours into there about what like we had for them the year before that. So I was that's the hardest part. Like I was saying, like, it's not just, we were open from, 10 to 5, it's not like that. It's because there's private lessons in here. There are, which are like above and beyond. There are, parties. There are, and I tried to incorporate those into this. And then there are rainouts, and then there are weeks that the pool was shut down.
The company, you're even gonna watch 3 more weeks or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we didn't open though until June or July 1st, so we had a whole month off. So that was huge.
So thinking about staffing issues in general, right, we're not getting as many applicants. Is there room to consolidate?
Yeah. So. Mhm.
Give the responsibilities to the guards, give more cash.
So yes and no. That's not a 1-for-1. And I only say that because the big thing here will be tiny tot swim lessons. So basket room employees are really, I mean, their daily jobs are you could probably get by with a lifeguard or a manager doing that. However, they are part of our emergency action plan. The 911 call, the meeting at the gate. So there are things that we would have to make sure that we changed or did. Like we would just have to change our EAP. But like you're saying, get rid of basket room more or less, and like you have another $36. Yeah, well,
Room, and then a couple basket rooms.
so I love your idea of not saying there needs to be many. However, we used to only have 2. Now we're at 4 to 4.5 is the way I always say it, because you will not believe how many vacations these people go on, or how many.
That was, I was kind of wondering.
Yeah.
Hey, like, great.
So that's why you
$60
see.
an hour, guess what? You're not getting all that time.
So like you can look through this, right?
It might seem, but I never looked at it that way, like, take more money, more responsibility, more commitment.
I feel like most of them,
Hurt you to have.
No, it doesn't. It just pulls from the hours. Yeah,
It's the same amount of hours and it's the same FTE.
correct. Yeah, your equivalent. Yep. Yeah, you're right. It just, what she's saying though is if I had less, then I probably could give $1 more, $2 more, you know, technically.
But you have guards, but they're not WSI guards.
Well, and so that's another thing that could change, right? Like I don't know what I'm gonna have this year. So that could go up or down $1, or go up a quarter. People are coming back. So, you know, I just tried to base this. Yeah, I know.
I know, but then I see like some guards, you know, again, just like 5 hours for 2 weeks.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
5 hours for 2 weeks, I can split that time between two guards.
Right.
You know, like, and just dissolve that position.
But I will say to you, Jen, I very seldom now, it never used to be this way. We used to have 13 to 14 staff every year because people wanted the hours. Like that was a concern. In the last few years, I have not heard that complaint that I'm not getting enough hours. You know, like I don't hear that from them. That's what's kind of like.
I almost feel like we need them more than we need the money, because I'm looking at one basket for $1,800 over the course of the summer is what they paid.
Well, one got 800.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
And maybe that person was there a substantial amount of time. I look at it as being, wishing I was a kid again. Like, what did I do with that $1,800 that I made? Yeah. Instead of enjoying the summer? It's
not about the money. It's definitely not about the money at the basket rooms time. Even the guards, I never really ever felt like it was about money. I'd say this last couple of years though, it's been more about money. I mean, I've always like questioned the point, like why people would work for us over Middleton, and the fact that like Middleton was paying $3-4 more an hour. And then I think some people went there and they're like realizing like, holy cow, like this is a lot. I mean, there's the amount of people swimming there compared to ours is night and day difference. So I think, you know, like that.
Personally looking at what you got for requesting the pay raises, I don't see it being out of line in the least, but
Have you asked them what would keep them staying here?
Yeah, so we do an end of the year kind of survey. That's another thing we received last year. Money was talked about a little bit. I actually received a couple emails now, like people that are working at the indoor and they're making $15 an hour to work indoor. And I was like, there are like 4 people in there. So that's like a hard thing. You know, we can't compete with all of that necessarily too, but yeah, money has been.
But I wonder if that idea about kind of the bonus to make up for the, like if they would stay to a certain point of the summer or like also.
So Noah's Ark is.
What?
Noah's Ark. So if you work Memorial Day to Labor Day without taking any days off, like if you're scheduled and you worked it, you get $1 for every hour you worked the entire summer. Like it's a lot of money. And that they've been doing that for a long time. But that's also like, you know, they hire outside the United States quite a bit. And so those people are here anyway. So they don't need to take off. So it's worked out for them, but we're not, you know.
You thought about doing something similar though, like an hourly bonus where so you're paying your guard, WSI guard 202 hours. So like, all right, you hit or you're here 200 hours over the summer, we'll kick in an extra $150.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be something for a kid that's like, oh, all I gotta do is 200 hours. And then towards the end of the year, like, oh, open shift, I'll take that, I want that extra money.
Yeah, kind of incentivize.
Or even like quarter thing, because like I hear a quarter, whatever, but I hear $100.
Yeah.
So,
And a Culver's gift card.
I've got 100. For a Scoopy.
Yeah, the Scoopies
Oh, the Scoopy, the tokens,
No, a free Scoopy.
all the paper, yeah.
from the
What the
meals.
state is taking over the payroll of the lifeguards, that portion, will that do anything?
Not
Like,
for this. I took those out. Yeah, that's out already here. What it will do is, I mean, that's a thing that's been needed for quite a while, mainly because like it always looked like they were working for the village. So when you had a Stingray coach, working 6 hours, 5 hours in the morning, then working 7 to 8 hours for me, it looked like they were working for the village for 12, 13 straight hours, which is illegal. So even though they weren't, they were working at the same place, but they weren't getting paid technically by the village. So, but that would be good. Like that way we don't run into any HR nightmares or, even like workman's comp would have been really hard if someone would have gotten hurt.
I'll make a motion that we approve the recommendation for the proposed.
I'll second
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Hang on one second. So we do want this just for the pool.
Yeah. So I'll get you new ones I'm still trying to figure out, our offerings for the summer, and that's going to change a lot of how many, rec staff we're going to need for the summer, and then also their pay. So I will let everyone know I increased the after school from $12 to $14 to $22 to $25 after we didn't get anyone for 2 weeks, and calling around and asking what other people were paying for the similar positions. We did get one person to come, actually a long-term substitute for the school district, but she doesn't get here and she can only work 3 days a week, but she requested even more than that, and I'm paying her more than that because we have to have people. Like it's just not feasible. And the other side of this, and this is the thing when staff leave or things, there's always bittersweet. Like it got me more involved into looking into that program specifically. I've been there, I've seen like what they're doing more. Like it's just been, that part of it's been really good. Like I really like this, like talking with the helping staff and like full-time staff and like, getting kind of underneath like where the problem areas are. And, there are a lot of policies we have in place that haven't been implemented. So I think those things implemented will like take a lot off of their shoulders too, right? So I think like that part of it will, and sorry, getting off here a little bit, but that'll come back to you at the next meeting in regards to this stuff. And like I said, when I fall within the budget, I don't really have to, but I really think this is good that you see these and like you can talk to people now and be like, well, we just increased rates to the pool. I got more transparency in that regard. I think is really important. But
it was good because I
Tend
just
to
got a
not
bunch
know.
of texts. About
Yeah.
why lifeguards not being paid much.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. Yeah. So
Takes into consideration.
that was good. But the other side of like for after school is that you got to make it worth someone's time, right? Like that's a 3-hour job. Why would you come for $36? And I wasn't, I was involved in, I take full responsibility. I should have been like more looking at those expenses. I mean, because we're charging people, for the programs. It's not like it's coming out of taxes or other ways. So it's like we should have been increasing that pay for staff before. And so it's just, it gets all of us kind of under the same, or gets me, I guess, more under like what we need to do to make things better. And we do have capacity to make those things better for LTEs, just not full-time staff. So, yeah.
Right back for you. Okay. All right, so I have a motion to accept this as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And that was the last agenda.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. February 19th.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Everyone.